The government just made a decision that will quietly cut thousands of pounds from the incomes of some of the most vulnerable people in the UK, and the vast majority of those affected have no idea it is coming. If you claim universal credit, PIP, or ESA right now, or if you think you might need to in the future, the next few minutes could save you from a financial shock that you simply cannot afford. We are talking about changes worth up to £2,400 a year, changes that have already been signed into law, changes that kick in from April 2026. But here's the thing, this story is not all bad news. There are real protections built in. There are deadlines you can still beat, and there are things you can do right now that could protect your income for years to come. I have gone through every piece of official government documentation on this. The bill that passed Parliament, the impact assessments, the responses from disability charities, the select committee findings. What I am going to give you today is not speculation. It is not scaremongering. It is the facts, clearly laid out, so you can make smart decisions for yourself and your family. Let us get into it. To understand what is changing, you first need to understand how universal credit currently works for people with health conditions, because the structure matters. When you claim universal credit, you get a standard allowance. Think of that as the base payment. For a single person aged 25 or over, that is currently around £311 a month. But if you have a health condition or disability that limits your ability to work, you can also receive an additional payment on top of that. It is called the health element. The official name is the limited capability for work and work-related activity element. Most people just call it the LCWRA element or the health element. And right now, that health element is worth approximately £97 a week. That is around £423 a month on top of your standard allowance. To receive it, you go through something called a work capability assessment. The assessor looks at how your condition affects your ability to work and places you into one of a few categories. If you are placed in the highest category, limited capability for work and work-related activity, you receive that full health element. For hundreds of thousands of people, this payment is a lifeline. It is the difference between managing and not managing, between keeping the heating on and having to choose between warmth and food. So when the government announced it was changing this element, the reaction was immediate and it was fierce. Here is what is actually changing from the 6th of April 2026, and this is where I need you to pay close attention, because there are two completely different outcomes depending on your situation. If you are already receiving the health element before April the 6th, 2026, your payment is protected. It stays at £97 a week. It will not be cut. However, it will be frozen. That means it will not increase with inflation until at least 2030. In a world where prices keep rising, a frozen payment is a real terms reduction over time. But your money does not drop overnight. You are protected. Now here is the harder news. If you are a new claimant, someone who applies for universal credit and gets assessed for the health element after April the 6th, 2026, you will receive £50 a week. Not 97, 50. That is £47 less every single week, nearly £200 less every single month, £2,400 less every single year. For someone already dealing with a health condition that prevents them from working, that gap is enormous. And the government knows it. So why are they doing it? The official reasoning, set out in their green paper called Pathways to Work, is that the current gap between standard unemployment support and health-related support is too large. They argue it creates what they call perverse incentives, making it financially unattractive for people who could do some work to even try. Their stated goal is to narrow that gap while still protecting the most severely affected. Whether you agree with that reasoning or not, the policy is now law. But there is one crucial exception that changes everything for some people. If you have a severe condition, the rules are completely different. Even as a new claimant after April 2026, if you meet what the government calls the severe conditions criteria, you receive the full £97 a week. And unlike the frozen rate for existing claimants, this higher rate will actually increase with inflation. It is fully protected. So what qualifies as a severe condition? The criteria include things like motor neuron disease, severe forms of Parkinson's disease, certain cancers, and other lifelong severely disabling conditions. where there is no realistic expectation that the person will ever be able to work. There is also full protection for anyone applying under the special rules for end of life. These individuals receive the higher rate automatically, without having to go through a full assessment process. The Department for Work and Pensions estimates that around 200,000 people will qualify under the severe conditions criteria. If you think you or someone you care for might be in that group, this is absolutely worth exploring with a specialist benefits advisor. Because the difference between qualifying and not qualifying under these criteria is £2,400 a year, potentially for life. Now, I need to tell you about a deadline. And this might be the most important 60 seconds of this entire video. If you are currently on universal credit without the health element, but you have a health condition that is getting worse or that you have not yet reported, you have a shrinking window to protect yourself. Here is how it works. Your universal credit claim runs in monthly assessment periods. To be assessed under the current higher rate of £97 a week rather than the new lower rate of £50 a week, you need to report your change in circumstances and request a work capability assessment before the assessment period that carries into April 2026. For the vast majority of people, that means you need to take action in January 2026 at the absolute latest. Some people, depending on when their assessment period falls, may need to act even earlier than that. Think about what is at stake here. If you report your condition in January 2026 and get assessed under the current rules, you lock in the higher rate. If you wait until March 2026, you might miss the window. And the difference is £47 a week, potentially for the rest of your working life. I am not telling you to make a claim you are not entitled to. I want to be completely clear about that. But if you genuinely have a condition that affects your ability to work, and you have been putting it off because the process feels overwhelming, or because you are not sure if you qualify, the cost of waiting is now measured in thousands of pounds per year. Contact Citizens Advice today, not this week. Today. They can look at your specific assessment period and tell you your exact personal deadline. That link is in the description below. Let us switch to PIP now, because this part of the story is genuinely more positive than most people realize. A few months ago, the disability community was facing a proposed change that caused serious alarm. The government had put forward something called the 4-point rule. Under this proposal, to qualify for the daily living component of PIP, you would need to score at least 4 points in a single activity, rather than reaching 8 points spread across multiple activities. For a lot of people with complex conditions, this would have been devastating. Someone might score 2 points across 4 different activities and currently qualify. Under the 4-point rule, they would have received nothing. And this was not just going to affect new claimants. It was going to affect existing claimants when they came up for review. People who had already been awarded PIP, people who had built their lives around that support, were facing the prospect of having it removed through a rule change. The response from the disability community was swift and it was loud. Charities, organizations, MPs from all parties, and thousands of individuals pushed back hard. The Work and Pension Select Committee raised formal concerns. Disability rights groups submitted evidence after evidence about the real-world impact, and the government blinked. In July 2025, they removed the PIP changes from the bill entirely. The 4-point rule is not happening, at least not now. Instead, the government has committed to a comprehensive review of the entire PIP assessment process. This review is being co-produced with disabled people, organizations that represent them, medical professionals, and other experts. It is expected to conclude in autumn 2026, and until it finishes, and until any new legislation based on it is passed and brought into effect, every single existing PIP claimant is fully protected. If you are on PIP right now, your award continues under the current rules. No immediate changes, no sudden reassessments triggered by this reform. There is a further protection that was announced alongside the review, and it is one that will genuinely reduce stress for a lot of people. For most PIP claimants aged 25 and over, the time between reviews is being extended. New claims will have a minimum of 3 years between reviews rather than the shorter periods that have been common. And if you remain entitled at your next review, that extends to 5 years. If you have ever experienced a PIP review, you know how exhausting and anxiety-inducing the process can be, having to reprove your condition, gathering medical evidence, describing in painful detail how your illness affects every aspect of your daily life. For many people, the review process itself causes significant distress. Fewer reviews means less of that. For many existing claimants, this is a meaningful improvement. But there is one PIP change that is going ahead, and it is worth knowing about. The percentage of PIP assessments being done face-to-face is increasing, from 6% in 2024 to a target of 30%, and the data shows that matters. In 2024, face-to-face assessments had a success rate of 44%. Telephone assessments had a success rate of 57%. That is a 13 percentage point gap. If you are called for a face-to-face assessment and your condition makes attending difficult, whether that is because of mobility issues, anxiety, or any other reason, you have the right to request a reasonable adjustment. Ask for a home visit. Ask for a different format. Put your request in writing and keep a copy. Do not assume you have to accept arrangements that are not suitable for you. Now let us talk about ESA, Employment and Support Allowance, because the picture here is actually less dramatic than some of the coverage suggests. If you are in the support group on New Style ESA, which is the contribution-based version funded by your national insurance record, your payments should continue as they are. The government has been explicit that when New Style ESA is eventually replaced by a new time-limited unemployment insurance benefit, existing claimants would be protected. And that change is not scheduled until 2028 at the earliest. When it happens, the intention is that it will only affect new claimants. If you are on income-related ESA, you are likely already aware that most people in this group have been moved to universal credit through the managed migration process. If you have not yet been moved, you will receive a migration notice letter. When you transition across, the universal credit rules I described earlier will apply. So the information in this video is directly relevant to you. One thing that is changing across all of this, and it is worth being prepared for, is the volume of work capability reassessments. The DWP has announced plans to conduct an additional 122,000 reassessments for existing claimants by 2030. The official framing is that this ensures people are on the right level of support. In practice, it means more people already in the system will be called for reassessment. If you receive a reassessment notice, preparation is everything. Get your medical evidence together. Keep a symptom diary. Be specific, not general. And if you are not sure how to prepare, organizations like Scope, Mind, and Citizens Advice can help you get ready. Beyond the headline changes, there are several other shifts happening in April 2026 that could affect your household income, and some of them are genuinely good news. Most DWP benefits that are linked to inflation will rise by 3.8% in April 2026. That figure is based on the September 2025 Consumer Prices Index reading, so if you are on any linked benefit, you will see a modest increase. The state pension goes up even more. Thanks to the triple lock, it is increasing by 4.8% in April 2026. For pensioners, that is a meaningful rise at a time when the cost of living remains high. Now here is one that many families do not know about yet. The two-child limit on universal credit and child tax credit is being removed from April 2026. Under the current rules, families are only supported for their first two children. If you have a third or fourth or fifth child, you receive nothing extra. From April 2026, that cap disappears. Every child in your family counts. For families with 3 or more children, this could be a substantial increase in monthly income. If this applies to you, it is worth using a benefits calculator right now to understand exactly what you will be entitled to from April. Turn to us and Entitled to both have free, accurate calculators. The links are in the description. The earnings limit for carer's allowance is also being increased. It is now linked to 16 hours of work at the national living wage. If you are an unpaid carer who has been unable to take on any paid work because of where the earnings threshold sat, this change opens up more flexibility. You can now earn a little more without losing your allowance. And on housing costs, while local housing allowance rates did increase in April 2025, the ongoing concern is future freezes. In parts of the country, LHA rates already cover less than 70% of average local rents. If you are in that position, check whether you qualify for a discretionary housing payment from your local council. They exist exactly for this purpose. They are limited, but they are real money that many eligible people never claim. I want to take a moment here to give you the bigger picture, because these reforms do not exist in a vacuum. The government frames all of this under what they call the Plan to Change and Get Britain Working strategy. They are investing £2.2 billion over 4 years in employment support programs, new advisors, new pathways for disabled people who want to work but need tailored support to do so. The stated vision is a welfare system that actively helps people into work rather than just paying them to stay out of it. That vision is not unreasonable on its face. Most disabled people who can work want to work. Meaningful employment provides not just income, but purpose, social connection, and mental health benefits. But the Work and Pensions Select Committee has raised serious concerns about whether cutting support first and investing in employment programs second is the right order of doing things. They have called for delays to the Universal Credit Health Element cuts until a proper independent impact assessment has been carried out. The government's own analysis estimates that around 50,000 people will be pushed into poverty by 2030 as a direct result of these changes. Some independent analyses put that number significantly higher. And disability organizations have pointed out something that the data does not always capture well. Many people with health conditions face barriers to employment that go far beyond financial incentives. Fluctuating conditions, unpredictable pain, mental health episodes, employers who are not set up to accommodate complex needs. These are not problems that a lower benefit payment solves. The PIP review, which is designed to be co-produced with disabled people themselves, is an opportunity to address some of these systemic issues. Whether it delivers on that promise is something we will need to watch closely as autumn 2026 approaches. Let me now give you a practical action plan, because information without action is just anxiety. First, work out which group you are in. If you are already receiving the Universal Credit Health Element, you are protected at the current rate. Make sure your contact details with DWP are up to date so you do not miss any correspondence. No urgent action needed beyond that. If you are on Universal Credit without the health element, but you have a health condition that affects your ability to work, your deadline is January 2026. Contact Citizens Advice this week to find out your exact date based on your assessment period. Gather your medical evidence now. GP letters, consultant reports, prescription records, any documentation that shows the impact of your condition. If you are on PIP, your award is protected under current rules. No action required unless your circumstances change. If a review is coming up, start preparing early. Keep a detailed diary of how your condition affects your daily life. Good days and bad days. Be honest about your worst days, not just your average. If you are not yet claiming but think you might need to in the future, the most important thing to know is that the sooner you act, the better. Every day you delay after April 2026 is a day at the lower rate. And for absolutely everyone, remember this: you have the right to challenge any decision you disagree with. Request a mandatory reconsideration within 1 month of any decision. If that fails, appeal to an independent tribunal. Tribunal success rates for benefits cases are significant. Many decisions that were refused at assessment stage are overturned at appeal. Do not accept a decision just because it came on an official letter. Here is where to get help. And please use these resources. They exist for exactly this. Citizens Advice offers free, impartial benefits advice across the UK. You can find your local office or use their online resources at the link in the description. Turn 2 Use has a free benefits calculator that takes into account your full circumstances and tells you everything you might be entitled to. It takes about 15 minutes and could identify money you are currently missing out on. Entitled To is another free calculator that many advisors recommend. Useful to run both and compare. If you have a specific condition, go to the charity that specializes in it. Scope for physical and learning disabilities. Mind for mental health. The MS Society for Multiple Sclerosis, Parkinson's UK for Parkinson's. These organizations have specialist knowledge that goes far beyond generic benefits advice. They know how conditions present in assessments. They know what evidence is most powerful. They can make a real difference to the outcome. Do not rely on general information alone if your situation is complex. A 1-hour appointment with a specialist advisor could be worth thousands of pounds in protected income. So let me bring this all together. The welfare changes coming in April 2026 are real. They are significant, and they are already law, but they are also more nuanced than the headlines suggest. If you are already claiming, you have more protection than you might think. If you are a new claimant after April 2026, the reduction in the health element is substantial, and you need to know your options. If you have a severe condition, the higher rate still applies. If you are on PIP, the most alarming proposed changes have been removed for now. And if you have a health condition that you have not yet reported to DWP, January 2026 is your deadline. Do not let it pass. The system is complicated. It is stressful. It does not always treat people fairly, but it also has more safeguards and appeal routes than most people realize. And there are organizations ready to stand beside you and help you fight for what you are entitled to. You have rights, you deserve dignity, and you deserve accurate information to help you protect both. If this video helped you, please share it with someone who needs it, a family member, a friend, anyone going through the system right now who could benefit from knowing what is actually happening and what they can actually do about it. Subscribe and turn on notifications because as the PIP review progresses, as April 2026 approaches, and as new guidance comes through from DWP, I will be here with updates the moment they matter. And leave a comment below. Tell me your situation, tell me what you are worried about, or tell me what else you want me to cover. I read every single one. All the links mentioned today are in the description. Official sources, free calculators, advice organizations. Everything verified, everything free. Take care of yourselves, you are not alone in this, and I will see you in the next video.